Hi, my name is Eleanor Smith. My question for you guys today is, have you ever felt discouraged about going to college?
Yes, every day.
Right. It's okay. You guys are not the only ones. There's studies that have shown that the college enrollment rate went down 39 to 41% within the last 8 years. According to the National Center of Education Statistics, the decrease is due to things like mental health, cost, lack of motivation, especially after high school. I'm sure all of you have heard your teachers say this wouldn't slide in college. Realistically, it kind of would. A lot of the things that they say about is attendance and lack of focus. You do need to have a lot of focus in college because there's more coursework, higher standards. You're settling down on your career. But a lot of teachers and educators and principals, parents even, seem to forget things like high schoolers face a different pressure than they do when they leave high school. A very famous quote from the movie The Perks of Being a Wallflower says there are people who forget what it's like to be 16 when they turn 17, and that's what adults seem to do sometimes. They forget all the standards that high schoolers have to experience societally, and just like how they feel. They're growing up, they're having to deal with things. High schoolers don't have a lot of control over their life, so especially in an area like Lawrence, it's low income, not generally just low income. There's just more marginalized communities, there's more barriers that they have to face that people don't seem to consider. I know a lot of people that do have to work to afford some of the things that kids in other environments would just be able to get. Talking to people in Noblesville is really interesting because they can just afford things while you're in an area where poverty is higher, and you just realize that it's not the same bracket. The new Indiana law basically states that if you miss 10 excused absences, you get caught for truancy, and 5 unexcused. I think personally schools should have less harsh standards on absences and participation, and because there is loopholes you can do to get out of your excused absence, such as a doctor's note or a college visit for some reason. I get why, but the doctor's note is really interesting because, again, being in a community with a more low income, it does put them at a higher disadvantage where, again, if you're in Fishers, Noblesville, Carmel, they can all afford to go to the doctor if they have a cold. A lot of families don't. So the law seems to be discriminatory, for low income. It's a little ableist. It does put people at a situation where they can't fix anything, that it just is really harsh. Some kid might go home and have to go work and deal with their siblings and then go to school the next morning, and if they miss that, even if it was bettering themselves to have to miss one period of the day, they just get more harsh implications towards their education. They lose grades, they get marked absent. It's and you can get held for truancy. The attendance thing also gives students less time management. A lot of times when people look at high school versus college, where they talk about how college has more coursework and it's harder, it's really interesting because in high school you do have to be at school 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. In college that would just never be the standard, and you are able to take 8 college courses in high school in a semester, and that would just not be a thing in college unless you're in an insane major and a minor. So it is a different push towards it. There are studies that do show that attendance does fix grades. A quote from the Inside Higher Education says, prior research shows attendance is one of the best predictors of class grades and student outcomes. If you miss more class, you miss material, though you can find it on Canvas, which is what they would do in college. And it shows that schools can help social development But personally, I think you can get social development from working. I think that's where I've gotten my most social development. And I lost my note card. There's just a lot of pressure that high schoolers face socially that is not there in college. Pushing high school to be the harder one, I believe. So I'd like to invite you guys to take a look, like have your parents, have educators, teachers, and your peers look at it and put yourself in somebody else's shoes. And I believe that high school is harder on people than college is.
Hey, feedback, please. Have you been to college?
No,
Oh,
but
okay.
everyone in my family has. So.
Okay. Anything else? What do you guys like? You give us sources from where you got it from.